Hey people, we got the motor out of the Festiva. We just pulled it as one unit, motor and trans. It's easier to come out the top than to go out the bottom. It seemed easier. That's how we did it. Anyway, turbo's over there, motor transmission's over there. The BP motor that's gonna be going in here is at my house. And I gotta get the head on it. I have a bunch of stuff for it. I haven't got a turbo manifold. I have no exhaust manifold for it at all quite yet. But I'll probably just order like a cheap cast turbo manifold, and that'll be going on this. I'm already running the Miata crank angle sensor for my ignition, and it should just work. I had to clearance it a little bit to clear the thermostat housing on this particular motor, but on the Miata motor, it just fits because it came out of that motor. So it should be a pretty smooth transition. I'm sure there's a few things. I know for sure we're gonna have to modify. This is the bracket for the motor mount that sits right here. And we have to modify the motor mount because on the BP motor, the water pump housing comes out kind of at a weird angle over this way. So you gotta modify the motor mount to clear it. But the fuel system should be able to stay the same for now. I've got a Works 300 in the tank that should flow enough fuel to make 200 horse consistently. I don't think it'll have any issue. And 200 horse in a slow car is gonna be quite the experience. We'll turn it up obviously later, but for now, that's the plan. We got the engine bay cleaned up. We're going to pull it out, I guess tomorrow. It's gonna be so cold. It's supposed to snow tomorrow, so we're gonna see how this goes. But we need to get this cleaned. We purple powered it and cleaned the best we could. Wire brushed and all that other good stuff. But the plan is to paint the engine bay. The car is gonna have to get some suspension change because one, it's gonna be making twice the power it was before. And it's going to eventually make more and more and more power. Like that motor should take about 350 before I have any issues out of anything. We pulled it apart, checked all the bearings, it looks good. So we're gonna do the old LS trick and just send it down the road. We retorqued everything and it looks fine. I don't think we'll have any trouble. And 200, it won't even be trying at 200 horsepower. Those little motors are pretty stout. And that motor over there, if it weren't for the weak internals, this thing could make quite a bit of steam. Because this, I mean, there's a lot of meat there, but there's just not a ton of support at all for pistons or rods for these motors. And I'm not gonna spend money on custom stuff when it's just as easy to stick a 300 horse capable engine in there, where I'd be out probably $1,000 on custom rotating assembly on this to make what my $400 Miata motor could make pretty easily. So that's the plan. That nonsense is going away. We'll probably keep the hood dump wastegate just because I've come to really enjoy it. So we'll have to refab that. I don't know if I might have to get an adapter because most of the cast manifolds that I found for the BP motors are a 2-bolt wastegate flange. So we'll probably do a 2-bolt to V-band wastegate. That's a 44mm wastegate. And then we'll have to refab this dump tube coming out the hood, which isn't a big deal, but that'll have to get redone. The drain will have to get redone. The feed will stay the same because I bought a feed that was way longer than what I actually needed. And then because that's a cast manifold, I'm not worried about it taking the weight of that turbo. So I won't have to do a support bracket like I did before for that turbo. So everything should work pretty well. And the way that was oriented, I couldn't get all 4 bolts in it. So it only ever had 3 bolts out of 4 on that T3 flange. So with the cast manifold, we'll have all 4 bolts in, everything will be done proper. The factory radiator gives you enough room. There's no AC condenser or any of that nonsense to where the turbo can hang out front and you got plenty of clearance. I'll have to rebuild the charge pipes, which some of it's up there. I have to rebuild the charge pipes to get everything to work and just meet up to the intercooler. We're gonna keep this little intercooler because it was actually a little big for that motor. So we're gonna just run this. It's 2.5 inch. It's plenty big enough for my power goals. And it should work. I do have the axles already for the the G series transmission they call them. already have the axles for it. I already have a clutch that's good to like 300 horse is what it's rated for. And we're gonna be running these same wheels and tires for now. Once I get comfortable turning it up, we're gonna go to probably like either a radial or just a full slick in the front, just for when we do want to party and hurt some feelings. We'll be able to do it without conquering traction issues as bad. I'm sure we'll still have traction issues, but if we can mitigate those, we're gonna do our best to do so. I've already done the stud conversion on these, so a 4-on-100 wheel fits. So anybody that knows 4-on-100 Honda, any Honda wheel that's 4-lug, you can bet's a 4-on-100. So the aftermarket is endless for wheels because I did the stud conversion, and then now I'm running a spacer that converts it to 4-on-100 because these use a weird like 4-on-4.5 from the factory. So there's not a ton of aftermarket. So we're good on that. As far as performance upgrades, it's just gonna be a run-of-the-mill stock BP swap. It's gonna have head studs. It's gonna be running just a Cometic head gasket, multi-layer steel head gasket, and then stock cams. Nothing crazy. I do want to do the X intake mod that all the Miata guys do, to where you run 2 exhaust cams and it increases duration on the intake, so it'll chop and it sounds good, but it actually is a performance gain as well, and it does work well with forced induction. So that'll be a gain for later on. People want an arm and a leg for them, even though they're a stock camshaft. An actual like true aftermarket forced induction cam setup for both of them is like anywhere from like $500 to $800 on average. They are pricey, and I'm not ready to spend that. We're not trying to shoot for the moon quite yet, but fingers crossed everything just goes smooth. I'm gonna try to get the motor together and try to do like a time lapse when I'm putting the motor together, so you guys can see what goes into it. And I guess that's it. Try to get this video up and keep you guys posted. Also, you guys need to check out, I'll see if I can throw up in the description, I've got a coupon link for drivefastapparel.com. They sponsor me on clothing, pretty cool. They actually reached out to me on Instagram and said that they liked the Festiva. They saw it throwing fireballs, and I guess they were a fan. So they got a hold of me and they said, hey, you interested in some clothing? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll rock your brand, no problem. So there's a coupon code that is for me. I actually get a little bit back when you guys use it, and you get 10% off. So it's a win-win. Wickedly Boosted, those guys, they give me clothing as well. They've got a discount code for you guys that is through me, and then I get a little bit back from them also. Fingers crossed, the ultimate goal, get this thing running and drive it to Texas 2K. We've already got tickets, we already got a hotel room, we're already ready to rock. So this has to get done. Like I said, use the links. They're gonna be in the description. Go ahead and check out those 2 websites. Get some clothes. They got cool hoodies. They got all kinds of stuff. Beanies. They have shift knobs. They sell they do a lot of Subaru parts and stuff too. So they got some cool items. They're growing their inventory little by little. I've watched them grow quite a bit over the last year or 2. So go check them out. Hello. We have begun work on the engine. We have already put the oil pan on. I got a bunch of parts over there, which I'll get to in a minute. We got the deck surface cleaner than it was. I got a multi-layer steel head gasket that'll be going on here. Oh, we got new front main seal, rear main seal. I got a new water pump. I have to order a kit. So Mazda had a problem with these from the factory, to where these sometimes would waller out. It was more so a problem on the crank snout than on the actual timing pulley. But they had an issue with the keyway wallering out the groove, and they sell a kit to fix it. I guess it's such a common problem, so I have to get that ordered. I forgot to order that, but this thing is just about to go together. Once we get the head on it, we can go ahead and get it in time, and then it'll just be doing the water pump and cleaning it up basically. Once it's together, I'm gonna go ahead and clean it off, get the block cleaned, which we should have done in the opposite order. but it's too late now. I'm gonna get the intake. Here's the intake. It's a Skunk 2. Nothing too crazy. It's supposed to be one of the best easy bolt-on non-custom intakes for these motors. But that'll be going on here. We're getting rid of the factory one because from what I've read, the factory manifold pokes out just enough that you have to cut your firewall on the Festivas to clear it, and we're not doing all that nonsense. So we got a Skunk 2, and these things flow a lot. They're supposed to be a huge upgrade, so I was happy to spend the money on this thing. It's going to look good. It's going to get powder coated, probably do like a gloss black on it, just to make it look good and clean it up, clean up the engine bay in general.
It's dark.
We decided on a color for the engine bay.
Dark metallic copper.
It's going to be a dark metallic copper, which we sprayed it on the little test paper in Walmart, and it looked pretty good. I liked how sparkly it was. It wasn't too much like the catch can or the wheels that I used to have on the car, but I think it's going to look pretty good. We're moving along on this. We're going to do a time lapse on throwing the head on, getting the timing set. I still have to clean up the valve cover because that's going to get powder coated. I have to buy a bigger air compressor. There's people message back on Marketplace, but we're going to get this thing together and then we'll be back in a minute with anything else. I'm going to probably go ahead just in a minute and order the kit for the crank to get that fixed. I have a 6-putt clutch that's going in it. It's like a stage 4. It's rated for like 300 horsepower. We'll see if it holds that, but honestly, I want to make a good conservative 200, pull a ton of timing, make sure it's real safe, and then get a feel for adding timing. We might actually try to get in with some guys and put it on a dyno so that we know when to stop adding timing, because we're going to put a knock sensor on this, but just to get it going, it's not going to have one, so I don't want to get too carried away, throw a bunch of timing at it, and then we're back where we started with a hole in the piston. These are stronger pistons. This overall, this whole engine's a better design than the other one, but too much timing will kill any motor. It doesn't matter if you got forged pistons. So we got gates, everything. I try to not cheap out on certain things. We got timing belt, kit, water pump, and then the clutch is some eBay clutch. We cheaped out on the clutch, okay? Well, this is as far as we got on the BP motor. We got the head on. It's all tightened down. All the ARP head studs are torqued, all down the spec. I can't put the timing belt on until that new kit comes in for the keyway. I can show you the keyway though. You can see it's wallered out like I was talking about. So, waiting on the kit to come in for that, to get that fixed, and then we'll be able to put the timing belt on this, and that'll be done, and then we can do valve cover, which is down there. Get the valve cover on it, go over, degrease it, get it clean, probably hit it with some paint, decide on a color that we want it to be, but that's where we're at on this. But that's where we're at on the BP motor. It's getting there. So once we get that kit in for that, I can get that put together, and then we can put a belt on it and decide on a color for the Skunk 2 intake over there. It's in the chair. Get the intake powder coated, figure out what color we want to do on that, and then it should be pretty straightforward. I did find out today that I'm going to have to run a Honda half rad unless I get a really, really low profile fan. And the half rad apparently goes underneath the radiator support rather than up against it like the factory radiator was. So I might go ahead and order that, just a eBay half rad off of a Civic, and that'll give me more room, because I guess I got to move this engine forward in the engine bay to clear the steering rack, which I was also unaware of. But all these things I'm just learning to try to make this an easier swap. But we're waiting on parts right now, and once everything comes in, we should be getting close. Next video, I should be going over the color on the engine bay. I got to get the engine bay primered, and then we're going to be doing that dark metallic copper, which I think is going to look really good. I can't wait to see that finished. It's going to be a challenge because it's about to be really cold here. It's supposed to be like 3 degrees and 11 for a high tomorrow, and the next day it's going to be cold. So we're going to have to get the shop really warm if we want to paint the engine bay. So that's going to be a challenge, but fingers crossed we can get that all done and everything turns out good. But that's where we're at on this. I appreciate you guys watching. I know it's been a while, but it's all coming together. It's a process, and then once this motor's in the car, I can start working on the wagon build and getting that started. It's been a challenge. I've been trying to find a crankshaft for the wagon. I tracked one down in the salvage yard. I just have to get out there and get it. And it's about to be cold, so I'm not going to be too motivated to waller around on the ground under a car when it's 11 degrees outside to get a crankshaft out of it. I'm just not going to do it. But once this is done, we're going to get started on the wagon build, which I'm pretty excited about. And it's just going to be a Vitara build. Eagle rods, Vitara pistons. It should make some decent power. We'll probably run a pretty healthy size turbo in it. It's just going to be a D16, nothing crazy. But I'm excited for that build. But this has to get done, and then I'm helping my friend with his Mustang build, and I just helped my friend put a new cam in his Corvette. There's a lot going on, but this is priority. We got to get this done so we can get it to Texas 2K and advertise for the business and kind of get our name out there for YouTube and all that good stuff. But thanks again for watching. Make sure you guys check out drivefastapparel.com and Wickedly Boosted. I'll have everything down in the description, and you guys want to keep watching my stuff, I'd certainly appreciate it. And just hit me up in comments if you guys want me to do something. If you have a color suggestion for the valve cover, the intake, I'm all ears. I love trying new colors. I'm getting my powder coat stuff set up. It's getting there. It's a small operation, but we're making it happen. Here's a purple that I did last night and a gloss black. So if you guys have an idea you want to do on this intake, absolutely let me know. I would love to try something new and maybe a little different. That's where we're at on the build. I appreciate you guys watching, and comment if you guys have any suggestions on colors for the engine, what maybe you want me to paint the cylinder head a different color, the valve cover, anything at all. Just let me know, and we'll see what we can do to make it happen. But as always, thank you guys for the ongoing support, and we're going to try to keep it going.